Desk Ladyada.
Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to Desk Ladyada. It's me, Ladyada, with me, Mr. Ladyada, on camera control, and also testing out a new AV system, which should be
we upgrade
no
over
different.
time. We upgrade over time.
It's all good. It's all good. Okay, well, do you have any news or updates, or you want me to just jump right in?
Regular old shows this week and more. Come on by and show and share your stuff this week on Show and Tell. And, of course, check out all the shows that we have all week long. What is on your desk this week, though, lady?
Okay, this week on my desk is a lot of TFTs. So the chip shortage, like I said, has been getting a little easier to deal with. And one of the things that's been more available are displays. So displays were one of the first things that just became ludicrously expensive. The prices went up like 300%. Prices are back down to normal. And also, since we were repricing all of our TFTs, we actually sent out some, quote requests and got another company that's always going to dual source. We have another company that could supply the same TFTs for us. So, no matter what happens, if there's lockdowns or companies don't have some parts available or they have different parts available, we have another supplier. And as I was doing this, I was like, well, if I'm going to maybe update and redo some of these TFTs, let's also update the boards. So I thought, let's look at the TFT samples first. I have this big box of TFT samples right here. And we can also just talk about TFTs, and I'll show you the board revisions I'm doing, and then that'll lead us into the great search.
Cool.
How's that sound? Okay. So let's go. So this is some of the TFTs. I was just going to show this later. All sorts of TFTs, SPI TFTs, and TTL and more. So let's take a look. It's a gigantic ass box. Oh my god. Okay. So I'm just going to start with the smallest one. So this is okay. This is actually this is the same TFT as the 1.9 inch TFT that I use here. It looks like pretty much identical. It's not exactly the same. The FPC is a little bit different, you can see, but I'll test this in situ. So I'll pop this out and pop this one in and just make sure that it works the same. So again, always good to have multiple sources. Okay, so that's that one. Let's see this. Oh, this is the 2-inch display. So that's this one. Let's look at the FPC connector. So we can do this without tearing apart the screen. Oh, I tore apart the screen. I think this FPC might be a little bit different. Let me see how it goes. No, it's just the FPC is a little different, but it actually ends up being the same length and size, so that's kind of good. So we'll test this one as well. This is a 2-inch IPS display, so that's kind of good. This is I can already tell it's a rounded rectangle. This is the 1.69 IPS rounded rectangle TFT. So these are all SPI TFTs. So basically, pretty much anything under 320 by 240. I tend to use SPI as the protocol. It works well enough, and it can transfer enough data. All right, then we're going to get into some other displays. So this is a 2.8-inch capacitive touch, so you can tell it's capacitive because it's got that nice shiny black top. And this is the capacitive touch chip. One of the things that I like is, even though it's not done, I have, I've kind of requested it because I saw it once, is the capacitive touch actually, the chip, even though it's a totally separate circuit, the capacitive touch FPC is totally separate. It gets soldered onto the main FPC, and then instead of the 4 resistive lines, you get SDA, SCL, IRQ and address or whatever coming out. So it's like you get to reuse those 4 lines, but they're for capacitive touch. So this is this display is interesting because it's 16-bit or SPI. You can see all the pins that are available. So we do use 16-bit mode on the Pi portal for high speed, And you can also, the ESP32 has a 8 or 16-bit mode. It's just, is it actually faster? I don't know. 16-bit is a bit faster. 8-bit, it depends. Okay, this one. Okay, this is a 2.8-inch resistive. So you can see it's got the same, basic connector, but this one has the resistive touch panel, and this one has capacitive. So two options, and these should be drop-in replacements for the current displays we've got, which will be nice. I don't like to change chipsets or connectors. It's a lot of work to update. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Okay, more and more and more displays. Oh, these are, this is cute. So this is a 2.4-inch display and also a capacitive touch version, which I've not had before. So this is actually kind of nice. The current supplier we have of TFTs did not have a 2.4-inch display option. So this is pretty cool. We'll be able to update the display maybe and have a capacitive touch version as well as the resistive. Let's put this away. And this has the same connector as the 2.8, so just, I use the same connector pin out. Okay, so that's the 2.8 inches, or sorry, 2.4 inches. Let's see, now, got this bag. What's in here? Oh, this is a 1.3 inch, I think. This is a 1.5. Yeah, this is a 1.44. This is the classic 1.44 128 by 128 display. This is like the OG TFT SPI display used in pocket, like those little keychain image viewers from like 10, 15 years ago. That's what they were originally used for, and that's, then they became popular for hobbyist purposes.
Is there any benefit from resistive touch over capacitive?
It's much cheaper, for sure.
Resistive is cheaper?
Resistive is much, much cheaper.
Okay.
Capacitive usually adds $10 or so. It's pricey.
All right. Any other reasons that one would be better than the other?
Some people like the pressure, but most people like capacitive.
Okay.
Here's another round rec display. We use this. This is actually 1.47 inch, and I think it's like 240 by 150 or something. It's a very high resolution IPS display. And then this is the 1.3 inch IPS display. Very popular. We use this on the Clue and a bunch of other boards. I'm making a little bit of a mess here. That's okay. And then this is the standard 1.5 inch display. So classic. Also used in a lot of different boards. Let's see what uses the 1.5 inch. Oh, the Monster Mask, the Halloween uses this display. There's a couple more in here. Oh no, this would be 1.44. So I'm going to put all these SPI displays in here. There's a lot of them. It took about a month to get all these samples, by the way. You have to look at the data sheets and you have to approve them, and then it takes a while. Okay, so that's that. All right. Here's some more larger displays. Okay, so now we're getting into the chunkies. This is 3.2 or 3.5. Let me see. This is 3.5. So this is the largest SPI display we used. It's 320 by 480. Again, one with capacitive touch. That's nice. I don't know that we had capacitive touch for the for 3.5. I know we did for the 2.8. 3.5, I think we didn't. And then here's a, well, I'm not going to pull it out, but this is the resistive version. So capacitive touch, resistive touch. Again, pricing differences will determine which one we go with. Okay, so that's that. Okay, now we're getting to the big one. They're getting bigger and bigger as we get deeper into the bin. This is a 5-inch display, resistive touch. So at this point, we no longer use SPI. We use now a 40-pin TTL connector. For this, a Raspberry Pi can drive it. The ESP32S3 actually has a peripheral that can drive not all 24 bits, but 16-bit color. It can do for hold on. I'm gonna zoom out because it's getting kind of big. So this is 5-inch. And this is another 5-inch. One of these is this is 4.3-inch. So 4.3-inch also. This is a TTL display, 40-pin connector, standard 40-pin connector. We have an HDMI to TTL converter, and also the RA8875 can drive these displays. But there are a lot of pixels, like 800 by 480. So you need a lot of bandwidth. Okay, and now capacitive touch version of the 5-inch. This one, they didn't do the thing where I wanted, which is this would connect through to here. I'm going to ask if they can do that, but they might not, because it looks like this is a 10-pin connector, and they might be like, no, there's actually not enough GPIO. You need more GPIO than the 4 pads that are afforded to you here. Whatever. So we'll check that out. And then only like 2 more to go. 4.3-inch capacitive. Nice. Let's see. Now we're into the chonkers. So this is a 7-inch capacitive. This is 7. I don't know the resolution. It could be 800 by 480, or it could be. Hold on, get a little bigger. This could be 480 by 800, or it might be 1000 by 600. I think it's 800 by 480 though. Also separate capacitive touch FPC. All right. I think I only have 1 more to go. And then this is probably a 7-inch resistive. Yeah, 7-inch resistive. Interesting, at some point they also sort of give up on trying to make this one connector, and they're like, look, the resistive is on a separate connector. Could be just too difficult to get the sizing right. All right, so that's the displays, and I think there's one more bonus display at the bottom here. Oh my god, what is this beast? Oh, this is a iPad display. So replacement iPad display, I think. Or maybe it's a 10-inch IPS. Yeah, it's a 10-inch IPS display. Which is kind of a nice display. All right. Huge pile of TFTs. I have my work cut out for me.
All right.
I don't know if that's a saying people still use. Let me put these all away.
All right, you want to roll into the Great Search?
Well, I'm going to show off one quick thing, but I just thought, I thought it'd be fun to show people all the different TFTs. Yeah. I don't know. If you're somebody who wants to put a display on something, now you know all the options.
Yeah.
All of them. Okay. So, we're going to quickly show off these boards. So what I've been doing, so you saw I had this gigantic pile of TFTs. So what I've been doing is, the newer TFT displays have a EYESPI connector on them. Hold on. Which means that, you can solderlessly connect. It's kind of like a STEMMA QT connector with FPC. But some of our older displays, I hadn't decided to do that yet, because this is from 10 years ago, 12 years ago. So this display, doesn't, and this display doesn't. But since I'm, maybe updating the TFTs, I was like, maybe it's a good time to also update the, especially if I can get IPS versions. I thought it's a good time to update the display breakouts. So for example, this breakout here, there's the space that is available. So I added a EYESPI connector here, and I have it running off of a QT Pi board. I made a little breakout for, and so you can just connect it up, and I have it do the test. Let me see. I'll restart the test. And then, it's kind of nice. So it's actually kind of nice because it's a faster way to test than to solder and connect all the pins and headers. So this is how I can check all of these boards very quickly. So, as I go through that gigantic pile and approve them, you'll also see updates to all of our TFTs. Because I do want to, one of the things that is, I'm trying to get towards this, less soldering or no soldering required to build a lot of projects. The Qt Pies and the STEMMA QTs are a big part of that. EYESPI is going to make it easier to do display type projects. So let's go to the computer. So I've got a couple of the most recent displays, the 1.9, 1.47, 1.69 do have the connector. And then, of course, recently we put in the connector breakout. But I was like, now that I've got I'm kind of going through and doing this, let's also make a accessory for the Raspberry Pi to connect displays. Because we have the Pi TFT and stuff, but it would probably be, there's a lot of people who are like, I want the Raspberry Pi to be mounted elsewhere than the display, or you want to build a project where it's separated, or you have an e-ink or something. So it's like, sometimes it makes sense to have it attached to the back, but sometimes it doesn't. So, and this is what, the Pi TFT looked like. It's like you plugged onto the Raspberry Pi. So, I thought of maybe designing something like this, where it plugs. This is like the 2x20 header that plugs into the top of a Raspberry Pi, and it's like a little shim, a little strip, and then you get. I really only wanted to have the EYESPI connector, but then basically it's like it used so many pins that it didn't make sense. Like once you go past 12, I was like, you know what? I should just have it be all the GPIO. So then I asked Mr. Ladyada for some suggestions. Like, well, maybe put a slide switch on there, or 2 buttons, and you have a 7QT connector. So it's like you can make a couple different projects. Maybe select different modes. You could use a slide switch, maybe as an on-off switch type thing. And then this would allow you to connect any of our TFTs again without any soldering or effort. You just be able to plug it right in. So that would be and then be super handy. So that's gonna I'm gonna finish routing this. You can see I've got a couple more air wires to go, but this will support our e-ink breakouts, our TFT breakouts, OLED breakouts, whatever. And then as we add more and more displays, because one thing that's nice is that there's always more displays being made. From having the somewhat crummy 128 by 128 1.44 inch TFT, it's like every month now I look, there's a new TFT that's on the market, that's available, that's low cost, that's SPI, that could be a fun little accessory for a Raspberry Pi or something. So this is the board I'm working on this weekend is sort of incentive for me to get all these EYESPI redesigns done. Yay! But as I was doing this, one of the things I thought I would do for the Great Search is show how to find this 2x20 pass-through connector that I really like to use. So that leads us into the Great Search.
Where in the world is that part I need? The Great Search with Digi-Key.
The Great Search brought to you by Digi-Key and Adafruit. This is the time of the week where Ladyada shows you how to find the things you are looking for on Digi-Key.com. What is a Great Search this week, Ladyada?
Okay, for this week, I was just chatting about how we're redoing a lot of our TFT displays, and we're adding a little connector that will make it easy to add a flex FPC to not require any soldering for attaching a TFT display to a project or product. And so on the computer, I can go there. I designed this board that has the FPC connector here, and then it connects to a Raspberry Pi header. You can just plonk it onto a Raspberry Pi header. Ideally, this would be fully assembled. No soldering is required. And then, you plug it onto a Raspberry Pi, or actually any single board computer with that 2x20 header. Almost all of them now have the same standard header, which is pretty sweet. And then you would be able to plug in a TFT display. So just less work, less wiring effort. And people are always kind of struggling with wiring. So this will make it so, you know, if the flex connector goes in, you're good to go. So this connector we use in a lot of our bonnets. So let's look at our bonnets. So for example, oh, this is a pack. Let's look. Okay, so this is voice bonnet, for example. So this bonnet, what we do is we like to use a slim 2x20 connector on the back. And the reason I like to use these slim style ones and they're SMT is, one, if you're doing SMT, there's no hand soldering. Like, it's, even though these connectors are like kind of chunky and like hand placing them, you know, sometimes is required. They come on tubes. It's still a lot faster to place it and put it through the oven than it is to hand solder 40 pins, especially if you don't have a selective soldering machine. So for, you know, or even if you do, it's a very labor intensive, it's a very messy process. So, you know, using these slim 2x20 headers is great. Let's see if I can see. Another thing that's nice is that you can have these plated holes up top, and then you can actually stick a stacking header through. So something like this. It's this extra long stacking header. These pins go through the SMT header and through the holes. Like, the SMT legs go out so that these long legs can go through. It means that you can stack multiple boards if you'd like, as long as there's no pin incompatibilities. Or you can probe, or you can attach other accessories. I think the Sense Hat also did this. If you look, the Sense Hat similarly has a 2x20 connector. What's interesting about how they did is actually they to save on assembly costs, this header here on the bottom actually is through hole, and it sticks through, and you can kind of see the little pads. Maybe it's kind of tough to see. Maybe, yeah, here you can kind of see. You can see the legs stick through, and that's how it attaches. And actually, they saved a little bit of money because they didn't do a double-sided process. It's a one-side process, SMT on the top, and then just somebody, before they package it, they stick a 2x20 header through. The pins go, you know, through the PCB, through the header, and make contact. It's actually quite mechanically strong. So it's another hack, again, to save money. You know, a little bit less assembly cost, because anytime you do single-sided SMT, it's worth it. Only trade-off is, you know, SMT headers are going to be more expensive than through-hole headers. They're not as common, and again, you know, they often don't come in a tape and reel. You might be able to get them tape and reeled, but they often come tubed or bulk because they're just so long. So let's go to Digi-Key and find this. So I want to find header, and you know, this is the closest image. I do like the new image search. So it's called a female receptacle rectangular connector, because I never quite remember the difference between like board to wire header, connector, rectangular. I just type in header, and then I just click on the image and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, that's what they call these. So there's like 250,000 different items, but we're gonna get through them very quickly. So number one, we only really want active or preliminary. So we're going to select those. And we only want 2-row, because we want the 2x20 connector. So let's apply, and that'll cut it in half. Great. Next up is the number of positions, and we want 40. Remember, it's 2x20, so the number of positions total is 40. And then number of positions loaded is going to be all. You're wondering, like, why would you have sometimes not? It's actually not uncommon for there to be one pin missing, because it's the key pin. So like, if you remember floppy drives, I think, or like IDE drives, they had one pin that was like filled in, and that way you couldn't plug in the connector upside down. So the only thing about IEC connectors is like, it's kind of easy to flip them upside down. But we want all of the connectors attached. And then how we looking? So yeah, these are looking pretty good. These are all through hole. So now, oh, here's one SMT. So now we want to find surface mount. So we want surface mount, not right angle. We want it to be pointing up. And then the pitch, that's important. So we want 0.1 inch by 0.1 inch. So mating pitch is the pitch down the 20 connectors, and the row pitch is the distance between, the row spacing is the distance between, but it's going to be square 0.1 inch by 0.1 inch. There's we're already down to like only 500 options. So let's take a look. All right, so yeah, these are looking pretty good. This is so big. Low profile, ultra low profile. A lot of good options here. Okay, so the next app, some of these you have board guides. Next app, let's only look at normally stocking. Although I will say, actually, let's not look at normally stocking, because actually there were a few things that were not normally stocking, but maybe if the lead time is, you're willing to live with the lead time, it's worth it. So the next thing is the height, the insulation height. So some of these are quite tall. They're the standard 7 millimeters high. And remember, we want to actually have it be slimmer. So, I'm not too picky about the height, but I definitely don't want it to be like the 8.5 that normally is. So I'm going to say, maybe 5.2 or less height. Basically those legs of the stacking header just have to make it all the way through. And then, let's say we're going to quote it at about 500 pieces. And we're going to look at the options. So again, some of these are, they're not available, they're not in stock, but they are a little less expensive. This one in particular was like, it's kind of cheap, and it actually looks pretty good, but it's not in stock, and it has a lead time of 4 weeks, I think. Yeah. So, the question is, what's nice is that the price is low. It's like, $1.28, which is a really good price for a 40-pin header. But they're not going to have it in stock right now. So this might be something where you're like, okay, I'll for when I go into manufacturing, I'll get this. But for now, there's this one actually came up, and it's not not too expensive. It's a couple dollars, and it looks good. This one was nice and slim. And one thing I'll note is that you do watch out. It has mounting nubs. Let me see if I can. You can see the mounting nubs here. So there's two mounting nubs, which are actually not traditionally. I didn't normally used to have these on the headers, but now you see I have to make a little. There's a 2 millimeter hole, and so you see that it actually affects the size of the annular ring around my through hole that would go through. So instead of having it be like this nice chunky annular ring, it's only a 5 millimeter annular ring. It's a little bit close to the edge, but it's okay. I think it'll be fine. But the mounting posts are good because, especially if you're going to have someone hand place these, it just makes it so they don't skew. It's like once they sit in place, they're good to go. So this one is actually pretty nice, and you can tell it's definitely hollow. Like you can see through it, which is good. That means those long pins will enter through and exit out the top. So this is my pick, the Harwin M20 781, and it's in stock right now.
And that's just Ladyada. Great search.
Where in the world is that part I need? The great search with Digi-Key.
Okay,
cool.
30 minutes, but
yeah,
we
a
had a
couple
lot to cover.
people said, funny the topic is live, been thinking about various displays. I was looking for low profile connectors, looking for stackable 7-pin today. So right before we do the show, that thing in the Professor X has, you put the helmet on.
Oh, the helmet with like the things that stick out?
Yeah, so whatever everyone's searching for, that's how we...
I can actually see everybody searching.
Well, according to the terms of service of YouTube, you agree to have all of your thoughts broadcasted.
Yes.
So we just built the machine that can
Yeah.
receive this.
Or like the Riddler in was Batman 2. Maybe like that the thing he put on his head.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm reading your thoughts and finding your parts.
Yeah. All right, so that's the Desk Ladyada this week. Thank you so much, everybody, for stopping by. Very much appreciated. We'll see everybody throughout the week for a bunch of cool shows, projects, new products, you name it. We'll be doing it together.
Yeah, if you have great search requests, send them in
You
to
can
Phil.
always email me, pt@adafruit.com.
Email PT at Adafruit.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.